Well, hey guys, welcome to the chat tonight. I'll try to give it a couple of minutes here and see if you can hear me and you can see me. So let's see if we can get that confirmation. So here I am, huh? All right. Well, welcome to Thursday Tank Talk. Tonight I've got a special guest with me. Rob is with me. And he has a new channel name as well. So I'll let him maybe introduce himself and he can tell us about his new channel name and maybe how that came to be.
Hello, everyone. It's Rob with the new DeFreese Aquariums 2019 new logo. I'm back. Rick's got an exclusive. This is the first time I've been on a live stream in close to 3 years. So it's an honor and a pleasure to actually have gotten to know Rick, watch his videos, watch his live stream, and hey, I'm part of one now. So welcome to the chat, everybody.
Yeah, well, it's an honor for me to have you, and this is like an exclusive, the first time being on a chat with the new logo. I like the new logo, by the way.
Carlo.
You work on it for a while?
No, actually, a buddy of mine, Carlos, one of the Fish Fan members, made it for me.
That's cool. Yep. It's always nice to have friends in the fish family that help you out like that.
Oh, yeah.
So let's see here. Let's see who we got here in the chat. I know we had Diego is here. Susan. Vanessa and Brandon are here. Liz is here. Superior Guppy. Johan Aquatics. Raccoon Creek Aquatics is here with us. Arachnid Aquatics. So I think that's about got everybody that we've got that I see anyway. Some more will pop up on here. Did I miss anybody?
One Fish, Two Fish.
Yeah.
From SLC.
Susan.
I was actually checking out Raccoon's Creek live stream last night. It was pretty fun.
Yeah, I usually do. I kind of have, leading up to this chat, I sort of have taken a little break and sort of getting ready for 2019. I hadn't put out many videos this last week, and I actually didn't do a live stream last week. So, but I'm ready to get back and get back into it. So I'm excited about that. So anyway, looks like we've got Bob is here. All right. Well, tell us a little bit about. I'd like to kind of start out by where did you start out, like with the fish hobby? I mean, how did you start out? When did you start? And kind of like what led you into that as a kid or whatever?
Well, as a kid, I was an avid fisherman. So I was always studying the water, reading about fish, learning about the makeup of a lake or a river and how to read it. That drew me into fish. So I would catch fish, bring them home, throw them in a tank, and try to raise them or keep my shiners alive for bait. But it was probably mid 80s because my first tank was a 20 long dirted disaster with fake and silk planch from a craft store. And that was probably 1989. And then I actually worked at Petco when they first started.
How about that?
I worked in the fish room. So I had stopped with the hobby prior to working there. And then once I started in the fish room, it lit the flare and I was off and running from there. So, since then I've been into it. And then for a few years after the kids growing up and, the empty bird nest, I wound up scoring this 55 gallon and it's been, nonstop ever since. My girlfriend's into it, for 2019, we've got a rack system coming up. We've got probably a 10 gallon. I have a 20 gallon on the floor behind me for a betta sorority she's going to start. Shrimp tanks. But good Lord, I've been YouTubing since 2007, 2004, 7. But back then I worked for AT&T Wireless So I was doing electronic, reviews and things like that. And being a motorcyclist, I was doing motorcycle videos and stuff like that. Thus, the Racing's Natural Aquariums. So as I've devoted more time to the hobby and, moderating for some of the other channels and whatnot, I figured it was time to spin the channel to keep it more fish related. So that's pretty much it. Petco started it. Now I won't go to Petco to buy anything because I'm afraid of what I'm going to bring home to my tank. But it's in a nutshell. 20 plus years, somewhere in there.
I got you. So when you first sort of started, what was like your first fish? Do you remember like your first aquarium?
My first aquarium, like I said, was a dirted disaster with an under gravel filter, which I love, by the way. Plastic plants, some live plants, running the old brown fluorescent tube light. And I had in the tank, I had angels, big no-no. I had 2 giant kissing gouramis, tire track eel, and mollies. It's a pretty good memory.
That is a great memory, actually. You did much better than I could do. I don't remember exactly what I had in my first tank. And that was quite the collection there, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Probably like me, when you first started out, you didn't really know exactly what was going on anyway. You just looked at the fish that looked prettiest or the most colorful and grabbed them up and went with it.
That was it.
Yeah, I see Diego here with Petsotics. He works at Petco now, so you and he have something in common there.
We're brothers from Petco.
Yeah, yeah. See, we got quite a few more people rolling in here. Belvin's here, and Dan Slee, Long Island Fish Guy, which Long Island Fish Guy is going to be on. Maybe next week, as a matter of fact. We've got to discuss it, but we've talked about it. So he'll probably be on next week's. And Out of the Blue Aquariums and Will's Fish Room. We got quite a few people rolling in here. I'm sure I'm missing people, but that's just the way it goes with when you're going through the chat. If I do, just say something and I'll try to catch it. If you have a question or something for Rob or for me, just put at BamAquatics. If you would, and that way we can kind of see it a little bit easier. Friday Fish Facts is here. Good to have you here too. So anyway, yeah, Long Island said he's ready. So next week we're gonna we'll just go ahead and announce that next week Long Island Fish Guy will be here with me. So tell us a little bit about like Racing's Natural Aquariums. How did you come up with that name to begin with, and then now of course you've changed it? But how did you come up with that?
The Racing was an email that I've used since just after the AOL days. And you probably can't tell, but I like to keep my aquariums natural. I try to recreate, like going back to the days of being, fishing. I still am an avid bass fisherman, but I have a problem. I jump in the water and swim around and see what the bottom of the lake looks like or what the bottom of the river looks like. So after doing that for so many years and really getting good at catching fish, I decided to try my hand at and give it a real commitment to a planted tank, because the one that was back in 1988 was a disaster. This one, which has been actually in the Team Green Alliance post, was used in an article for fishing that I got photo credit and something else on. But I just like the look of a natural aquarium, and I think it's more appealing, and it really helps the fish. I mean, granted, probably all the fish in this tank came from a pool somewhere in a warehouse, but you'd like to think that there's still a primal nature in there, like with a dog or a cat, so that they have that thing like, this feels right. We belong here.
Right. Yeah, I understand that. Most of my tanks, I try to have some natural elements too, as far as the live plants and the things like that. I know there's a lot of people who would say that, especially like I do, I'm doing some breeding, of course, and I do I have sold fish and will continue to sell some fish. So that is something that I do. A lot of people that do that like to have just a bare bottom tank, you know, but I'm like you. I kind of just like the idea of giving the fish more of an environment that they might sort of be used to. Like you say, they aren't really, I don't really know where they came from, but like you say, the natural instinct to go back to sort of what they're kind of used to and all that. And I think some people would say it would be better to have easier really to have just a bare bottom tank or something, but I don't really like that.
Yeah, to each their own. I mean, for breeding purposes and stuff, it's a lot easier to scoop up the fry and things like that. But, at least for me, because it's in my living room and my couch is over on the other side of the room, it's kind of like cutting a lake or a river in half and putting a piece of glass there so that you can see it every day. So that's kind of where the natural aspect came from. I try not to use chemicals. If I do, I try to use natural chemicals, Dr. Tim type stuff, which I've kind of shied away for a while, but I've used it. I've actually cured a few fish that were sick in here. So not too bad.
Yeah, that's true. I think it's good to go as natural as you can. I do that, of course. I do use some chemicals, of course, but try not to do too many. Um, Susan here had a question about the angelfish that I got from her. I don't know if some of you may have seen it, but a while back, of course, I went to Birmingham and met up with Susan and did some trading there with some fish and things, and got some angelfish. And Susan, they're doing great. All four are doing good. So they still haven't had any wigglers or anything to make it yet. But anyway, hopefully that'll happen eventually. So what do you guys think about natural tanks or bare bottom tanks? Go ahead and put those in the comments as we go through. We'll kind of take a look and see what everybody thinks about that.
I know somebody had asked, and I can't scroll back up for some reason, about what size my tanks were. To answer that question, this one here is a 55. I have a 10-gallon. This is community. I have a 10-gallon, believe it or not, pea puffer community tank. 3 years, no deaths, no attacks. Life is good. In my dining room, I have a 75-gallon cichlid tank, which is my first venture back into cichlids since 1990s. Because back then you didn't have Mbunas, you didn't have Haps or Labs. We had Jack Dempsey's, Big Dopey Oscars. I'm just kidding, Oscars, and a bunch of other ones. And then I have a 3-gallon betta tank. And like I said earlier, I'm going to be putting a rack up with some 10s with the aqua top that I got from Twin Cities at AE. And I've got 30s and 20s in my shed. So.
Okay, yeah, that's a collection there. So I'm sorry, I can't speak tonight. What kind of cichlids do you have now?
Actually, right now I have some blue ahis. I have some OB peacocks. I have yellow labs, a couple haps, some Scophilies, and a bunch of babies from probably all the ones mentioned except for the peacocks.
I got you. All right. So, so tell us a little bit about the Team Green Alliance and how you got to be a part of that. And we talked with Rack a couple of weeks ago about it, but kind of like to sort of get your feel on Team Green Alliance too, because that's something that that I really like, that I think is an awesome community and idea. So let's get a little bit about your feel for Team Green Alliance and sort of how you got involved with it and how it all started.
For me, the Team Green Alliance started at the Aquatic Experience. I actually got to meet Rack. We're hanging out, and then we kind of parted and we're running around looking at stuff. And all of a sudden, I hear somebody come running up behind me and said, "You know what? I have this idea. I want to do this, this, and this." And before I knew it, he's like, here's a green bandana. You're part of the team. I was like, all right, cool. So after the Aquatic Experience, we got talking a little bit more behind the scenes and, what his brainchild was. And, I definitely agreed with it because, I noticed myself, and I've been around actually just prior to before the Fish Fam started. I saw Bob Steenfott with maybe 1,000 subscribers, Corey with maybe 5,000 or 6,000 when these guys were all really small. And, you know, I've seen people like Susan from SLC Aquatics come in, shy at first, didn't want to do videos, and she would talk, and all of a sudden, bang, look at her now. She's the mom of the Fish Fam. And there's probably 1,000 more people that I've watched come into Facebook. But what I did notice was a separation of, and a lot of people don't like the terminology, but I'm not Willy Wonka. I don't sugarcoat things. Big channels, little channels. Now, for me personally, you know, we're all in this together, whether it's your goal to be, you know, 1,000K, 20,000K, whatever the case is, or excuse me, if you're somebody who wants to just share your passion, or you want to say, hey, look, this is a new tank I just did, these are the fish, and that's all you're in it for. That's what the TGA is. And it's tries to help people make their goals. And I don't know, you know, I see a lot of names in the room. Peter from Mob Guppy, how are you? Melvin, my brother. They've all come to the TGA, and in the last 3 or 4 weeks, I'm constantly posting congratulations, 5,000, 1,000, 600, 800. So, you know, it's a channel created through the brainchild of Rack. And we sat Saturday after Aquatic Experience, we sat with Joseph from JH Aquatics, and we were comparing notes because Rack spent a lot of time talking with Corey about content and quality and everything that goes along with YouTube. And, you know, getting Joseph's take on it, where, you know, some things he agreed with, some things he didn't agree with, you know, and that was kind of what spurred me to create the Team Green Alliance, because there were 3 of us able to sit there in some facets with different opinions, but everybody was respected, and we all learned something from each other about, okay, well, I can go home and do this to my channel or do that. And I said, you know, we need one place that's not like Fish Tube Land or Fish Fam Land, some place where people, especially new people, can come to and say, hey, can you watch my video? What do you think? Or can I share my video? Go for it. You know, and people call it spamming, and that's what the group is. I want to see your stuff because that's how I found you, or I found, you know, Melvin or No Jane or Mob Guppies. I mean, it's there for people to use to achieve whatever it is the goal is that they're looking to get to.
Right. Yeah, and we all have different goals. You know, some people just want to get out and have fun. Some people are out to try to build a business. You know, and some people are out to do different things. And I think that's what that's the good thing about being in the fish keeping community, because and Team Green Alliance specifically, because you have have that place where you can go and you can share what your vision is or what your goal is, and it may be completely different from someone else's, but it's still accepted, and your goal is just as important as someone else's goal, no matter what that might be. So that's what I really like about the Team Green Alliance idea and the Team Green Alliance community, is that it's like, it's just supportive. It's what I found anyway, that it's just a supportive place to go and meet new people and find new content. Like, there's several people here, that I've met through the Team Green Alliance. So that's a good thing. So I'm glad that it started, glad that it's there, and glad that I'm a part of it. So saw a few comments here. Let's see. There, people were talking about what they like and about the substrate and what kinds of substrate they like to use. But I noticed that Bob Kaler's Aquatics, is 24 subscribers away from 300. So anybody that's here that's not a subscriber of Bob's channel, head on over there and be sure and do that. And then Cameron, Learning to Fish Keep, is 8 away from 200. So anyway, we've got some great some goals here. People got their own goals, and so we're going to try to help them achieve that if we can. So so Rob, what fish do you have in that tank behind you?
What I have in this tank is, well, we started with 4 platies. and that turned out to be probably 100, give or take, on top of probably another 50 that I've given away. I've got some Sarpe tetras. I've got 3 giant size bristlenose plecos. I have 2 striped Raphaels that are buried down underneath the wood. Clownfish that I thought was gone. I found him the other night under there. Cardinal tetras, neon tetras, white clouds, dwarf rainbows, diamond tetras, black tetras, green tetras, several species of cories, some coolie loaches, some black loaches, and there's probably another 25 or 30 in there that I forgot about.
That's quite a collection there. And you started out with 4.
Started out with 4 little platies, a couple cories, or a couple cories and a couple cardinals and neons. Now, most of these fish that are in this tank now are going on or just over 3 years old.
Okay.
So it's amazing. Like, I'll see people say, "Oh, I can't keep neons. I can't keep cardinals." Those in there are probably 3 years old now. It's just, you know, I'm going to coin a phrase. I'm going to steal a phrase from my buddy John Hudson at KG Tropicals. You have to do your job. It's just that simple.
I understand. You got to do your job. You got to sort of keep them healthy, keep the water changed. So, speaking of that, you say you like to do things as natural as possible. So, how do you tell us a little bit about how you maintain your tanks?
I don't gravel vac for the sake of the plants, and there's probably 8 or 9 species of plants in there. So it kind of helps me cut back from using ferts. But basically, you know, I let things grow wild. I don't trim it. This is the first time that this area here has been open. This used to be one giant mass of crenums and wisteria. Oh, I've got guppies in there too. And giant swords. So I've trimmed this out. But, you know, everything in the tank, with the exception of the gravel, I've picked up on a riverbank or a shoreline, which this giant piece of driftwood in here is slowly starting to age. But everything is, and I've done videos on that, you know, gathering rocks and stuff. Like I had in my cichlid tank, I had one of my cichlids with cloudy eye. So as opposed to using like something like Clout or something like that, I used the Mellifix, which is an extract tea leaf. And within 5 days, it was good. So I try to use things that are natural, like Dr. Tim products, to fight anything that might happen. I do the water changes. Maybe like I've had my cories breed. I have baby cories in there from, you know, just keeping the water clean, doing like a 2 to 3 degree water drop in temperature creates their spawns. And then, of course, I've got snails in there that help keep it clean. A lot of people would cringe, but, you know, they do their job in here, and then my pea puffers over there get rewarded after they've done their job. But natural is just, you know, trying to use things that I have here. Even my cichlid tank, the rocks came from the side of a riverbank where I sit at lunchtime and, you know, pick them up and match them and build stuff. I'm like, I like these in the back of the truck, and off I go.
I got you. Well, that's cool. I wondered about that. So, how often do you do water changes, and how much do you change, and that kind of stuff?
You know, I used to be so critical of changes. You know, test the water every other day, doing weekly water changes, and you know, reading so much. And I've got fish books all over here. They still have a lot of valid information. But in this one, I would do like 25%. And then I do another one, you know, and constantly testing. I have not tested this tank, and I've been in this new home for a year. I haven't tested this tank once. Water changes, I do big water changes. I'll do probably 75%. My canister filter, it was the first time it was clean. It was up for 6 months. The hang on back, I kind of hot rodded that a little bit. So that one will clog up faster. So I'll kind of clean the mold and stuff off to allow the bacteria to continue to grow. But usually with the plants, I can get away with 3 weeks if I don't have the time, but I try to do water changes on all my tanks every 2 weeks.
I got you. Okay, I just did my water changes here today. I've got quite a few tanks, so it takes me a while. I'm thankful, so thankful for the Python. If I didn't have that, I really don't know what I'd do. That was like an amazing invention. Whoever came, and I know there were some predecessors to that, maybe, but that's been a lifesaver for me. But looks like Diego's got a question for you there. Nothing to do with fish, but he asked about your tattoo.
This one is one that I drew. I sketched out. It's a cross with a banner. And it was kind of a changing point when I decided that some things in my life needed to be changed. And I kind of took the words from Drake the rapper that everybody dies, but not everybody lives. You know, and that's how I was. I was in a failed marriage for 8 years, 13 years. And, you know, the 20 high or the 20 long that I had then was my only salvation. I could run to that and get immersed in that and let the ills of the world fade. So I was 43 when I got that one, which I found it, the work, I sketched it, changed it, went to my guy. And then ironically, I have, and I don't know, because I wanted skulls. That was what I wanted, like you see right there. I wanted skulls. But my son owed me money for paying for his prom tux. So instead of paying, he says, Dad, for 40 years old, I'm going to get you a tattoo. So this one is what they call an onx, and it's an Egyptian cross. And that means the rebirth, which prompted this one. So now it's kind of religious, but it's more spiritual, that as much as you don't want something to end, in some cases, you're better off letting go. And unfortunately, the marriage was a thing that I needed to let go. It wasn't healthy for either one of us. So then when I got the tattoos, and I was thinking, you know, I just don't want a tattoo for the sake of getting one. I don't want to just put something stupid in there. So I realized after the marriage went away that I felt alive again, you know, and the artistic stuff that I used to do, sculpting and things like that, finally came back. So, you know, that tattoo is a reminder when I think life is pretty much done or it's bad, I can look down and go, I still got a lot to live.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I like that a lot. That's a great message, you know. Not everybody everybody dies, but not everybody lives. I like that a lot. You say about artistic, are you an artistic person?
Back in school, I used to do a lot of clay work. I would make little pictures and raise the letters out and, you know, Joni Love Chachi type stuff for fellow classmates. I would do sculpturing. Unfortunately, none of that followed me here. But there was a time probably dealing with my family, some of the stuff that was going on there, drawing was my escape. And back then I could draw. And it's funny because I'll always hear people say, you never forget it. I forgot. I can doodle and stuff, but I can't draw anywhere near to the scale that I used to. I can probably go onto a potteries wheel and throw pots and cups and mugs and stuff and sculpt out stuff. Like I made for class, I made a sculpture of myself before I was gray in Fu Manchu. And I had long whiskers down and it looked like me. So, you know, it was stuff like that that I did. And, you know, that part of the artistic, and it goes back to the natural. I go underwater, I see something, I recreate it in there.
Right. Yeah, I asked that because I'm an amateur photographer. I haven't really been practicing that a lot here recently, but I like doing that too, and I like going out too and doing the nature and landscape photography. That's kind of like what my thing was too back when I was doing that more. I have to get out and do that again, but anyway, that's pretty cool though. I like that. I've never even thought I could do anything like sculpting though. That seems like that would be something that that would be difficult for me anyway.
Got to use the mind's eye. But I too am a photographer, you know, amateur. Use my phone a lot more, but I have a Nikon 5300D with lenses and lights that was part of the rebirth of Racing's Natural Aquariums, bringing that out and using that. But I used to keep a small, it was a 12 pixel Kodak, which is one of the very first reviews I did on YouTube, video of a camera. And I always kept it in my console in my car. So like pictures on my Facebook from the early days, all stuff, I'm stopping on the side of the road. I need to take a picture. I need to take a picture. And I don't know if you've ever heard of the website ViewBug.
No, I don't think so. There was what is it, Flickr? I've heard Flickr, but not ViewBug.
Well, if you go later on, viewbug.com, it's free. And you can see other people's pictures. You can enter contests for free. I mean, you can pay to subscribe and go to the pro level, but you can post your stuff up. People will critique it and help you out. So, you know, I stumbled on that, and I think I've been in there 8 years now. You know, and sometimes people are like, you get a peer award because they loved what you took a picture of, and it was the moon sitting on top of a corn stalk or something.
Right. Yeah. I have a good time doing that. Like I say, I hadn't really been into it much lately, and I keep thinking that I need to try to figure out how to photograph the fish and get better photographs of fish. Have you done much of that?
Yeah, but always been pretty much, well, most of it's been done with my phone. There are a few pictures on my Facebook page that I did take, you know, trying to get macro stuff. So that's fired me up to dig my camera out once I get my spare room cleaned off so I can find it. But, you know, watching Jimmy and Priscilla and those guys taking pictures got that fired back up. So that's something else, you know, especially with winter coming on, because I live basically in the Adirondacks. So there's just walking out of my front door at 6 o'clock in the morning, go to work. I have the gray, and then I have shades of blue and orange as the sun comes up, which, you know, it's amazing where I live. I just wish I was away from the main road, but.
Right. Well, that's pretty cool though, to be there where you can kind of capture those kind of things. What kind? I heard you talk about cories, and I'm sort of into cories. I don't have that many cories yet, but what kind of cories do you have?
I actually, my girlfriend saw them, loved them, so I bought them for her. Never heard of them. There were Brosis cories. Beautiful. They look like little sharks, but they have a personality. They're constantly zooming up and down and swimming with the fish. They don't stay on the bottom. I have some peppered cories. Actually, I have not a panda, stir-by, a couple stir-bys, a couple Mallinis. I think I've actually have Mallini babies in there that bred naturally. And then in my other tank, kind of helping my community tank going, there are green cories in there. But these Brosis I've had for 2 weeks now, and I think they're awesome. When my local fish store on Sundays does buy two, get one, I'm going back and buying more.
Oh, okay. That's pretty cool. Buy two, get one on Sunday, huh?
Oh, yeah.
I like that idea.
Bree's in the house. How you doing, brother?
Yeah, we got Rob, we got Rack, we got several more people that came in. Daryl has joined us. Several more people have showed up here. So we appreciate you all being here. Let's see. I know Melvin had a question just a minute ago. I saw it. Let's see what he said. How many 10-gallon tanks would I need to breed guppies, platies, and mollies, and later down the line African cichlids, cats, and etc.? Well, Melvin, that you'd probably need a lot of tanks to do that, depending on exactly how you wanted to do it. you could breed some of those things together, the Cory cats and the guppies or the platies or the mollies, but you know, depending on if you wanted to just have specific you know, lines that you wanted to do, you'd have to have separate tanks for each one. But you could get started, you know, with just you know, maybe 1 10-gallon or 1 20-gallon tank, and get you some guppies and put in there, and then you could do the Corys in the same tank. So you could do that. What's your thought on that, Rob?
Yeah, it's funny because I was talking with Melvin on his live stream last week about this. Now the 10-gallon that's, you know, out of view, that actually does have guppies. It has ocean blue guppies from BamAquatics. That actually I'm looking at probably 30 babies right now, or fry, because they're not even babies yet. And I do have 2 Corys in there that when I drop the water temperature, they spawn and they lay eggs everywhere. Now, I also have the pea puffers. I have some scarlet bettis in there. But the problem is, in such a small tank, Melvin, if you're going to have the Corys breed, you're going to need another tank. And Susan actually did a video on this, if I'm not mistaken, about scraping the eggs off the glass with her credit card or something and moving them to another tank. There you could get away with a 5-gallon tank or a 10-gallon to allow them to start to grow. But if you leave the parents in there, they're going to eat the eggs. My pea puffers didn't even touch the eggs, but my Corys pretty much ate every egg, because it's, you know, it's only so much that they can run. In this tank, I have baby guppies, but it's also heavily planted, so they have a place to hide the eggs under, and most of the fish in here won't bother it. But I think for you to start out and keep your lines pure, 1 guppy, 10-gallon tank, like I mentioned to you, probably 4 females to 2 males. Cory tank, you know, maybe 3 to 1, 4 to 2, something like that. And then a spare tank to move the babies to. As far as cichlids, that's a whole nother ball game. I've actually got babies and I have young adolescents in my 75. But the key to that success was having a lot of rock work with very tiny areas that the fish can get into. And actually, I have a universal background that kind of pulled up. So as I found out, my yellow labs went behind it until they got big enough. So as Rick said, you're looking at a lot of tanks, but if you want to start off small, 10-gallon guppy with a spare tank to maybe move the mom and dad out once they have fry, and let the fry stay in the main tank, and then do the same for your Corys.
Yeah, I agree, and I didn't even touch the cichlid part because that's outside my area though. So I'm gonna leave that for you or someone else, because I don't know about that just yet. I haven't gotten into cichlids. They're beautiful and I like them, but anyway, that was something I thought I might see if you had some comments on. But anyway, yeah, you can get started with just 1 10-gallon tank if you wanted to, Melvin, and get you one line of guppies maybe or something, and a couple of Corys. I have a hard time. I haven't been able to get my Corys to breed yet, but Liz had mentioned she hadn't been able to get hers to breed either. So, but she's like me. I'm not a Cory expert either, and so I have a hard time figuring out which are male and which are female on that. So
females are the larger ones in most Cory species, but to really try to kick a spawn in is start feeding them bloodworms, start feeding them brine shrimp, start getting live food in there. And then when you do the water change, drop it 2 or 3 degrees than what it is. And for some reason, that's like the Barry Manilow of fresh water, because when I do that, they're flying all over each other. And the next morning I wake up and there's 20 something eggs on one plant and 10 on my filter. So usually clean water nonstop, feed them live food, especially bloodworms, or most people call them blackworms, and high quality food, and the temperature drop. And actually I had somebody that I answered that question in Corey's Fish Fam, or Corey's channel live stream, and somebody asked me about it, and I gave him the advice. And 3 years later, I happen to have been modding, and the guy says, "Hey, do you remember me?" And I'm like, "Well, I remember the name." I said, "How are you doing?" He's like, "Oh, you know, I'm fine." He says, "I want to thank you." I was like, "Thank me for what?" He says, "My Corey's bred." He says, "I did what you told me." He says, "And I have plenty of them." I'm like, "Congratulations. It's a win-win. I'm happy. You're happy. You've got babies."
Yeah, that's Susan agrees with you too, that that's the magic for Corey's, I guess, is the temperature drop and feeding them the live foods, I guess is what probably she was talking about. Yeah, I've got I just have two. I've got the pepper Corys that I got from Susan, then I've got some panda Corys in another tank, but I'm not sure that I even have male and female panda Corys. So I may need to just get a couple more and add in there and see if I can't get the right combination, I guess. But let's see, I had a couple of questions. I know Brandon asked if I had any updates for the fish room. Haven't really been doing a whole lot as far as expanding. I was talking with Rob a little bit before we came on, and kind of have taken a little break from expanding for just a little bit as it temperature warms up and the people begin to ship more again. I probably will do some more of that, but right now I have kind of just taken a break, so I haven't really expanded beyond the killifish that I got from Dan several weeks ago. So. And I know also Bob asked about how the plecos I got from him are doing, and they're doing awesome, Bob. I'm going to do a video on those guys coming up to show how much they've grown. The little babies that you had sent me now have grown tons. So anyway, they're doing great too. So anyway, just wanted to answer those couple of questions. Um,
I see K-Lord's comment about blackworms and bloodworms, which, you know, I try to, if I go to my local fish store and I ask for bloodworms, they hand me blackworms, which are bloodworms. So yeah, I definitely know the difference, but some people still fight me to this day that nope, they're called blackworms, not bloodworms.
Yeah, I think some people use that interchangeably a little bit. Bob says the guppies you got from me are almost grown. Well, that's awesome, Bob. Hope they're doing good for you. So, what do you do, Rob? Besides fish, what do you? What are your other hobbies? I know you mentioned fishing.
Fishing, which seems like I do less and less anymore. Um, I hopefully it's been in the shop for 7 months. I'm getting my motorcycle back. So tried and true, can't phrase it any other way. I'm a biker. And if it's not fish tank therapy, it's wind therapy for me. And, you know, hobby wise, it's just being out on the road, either riding with my brothers and sisters or just tooling out with my girlfriend or, you know, just doing it on my own. And fishing, I like to garden, which is another reason the natural aquarium came about, because where I'm at now, my backyard is a swamp and it never seems to dry out. So it's raised beds and stuff. So that's kind of on the back burner. So my gardening happens in the tank. Music, going to concerts. Luckily, where I live, I have concert venues all over, indoor, outdoor. So, you know, I try to go to different concerts at the local radio station. Actually, my dream was to become a radio DJ. There's a station in Poughkeepsie just about 2 hours, and every Thanksgiving they did Be a DJ weekend. And you sent in a list of songs and whatnot. And if they chose you, you'd come on and do a radio show for an hour. I did it. I went as far as putting the song down, how many minutes it was, and the whole 9 yards, gave it to him. I'm at work. I get a call from the director of the station. So I hear you want to be a DJ. Come on down. I got down there, and the DJ I was working with was like, well, you're going to do this, this, and this. And, you know, if this happens, hit this button and whatnot. So I'm like, all right, cool. So she counted me down, and I went right into my DJ voice, and her jaw dropped. Half an hour into the show, her boyfriend called the radio station's phone because her mother thought I was a fill-in DJ and that something happened to her daughter, and she never made it to work.
Oh wow, that's an interesting story. How about that? One One thing Liz asked, what was your favorite show? I guess she's talking about your favorite live show, I suppose.
My live show or anybody's live show?
Well, like I guess your favorite, like favorite concert, maybe. Is that what she's talking about?
Oh, concert wise? Well, it's kind of a toss up. I'm big into Disturbed. I'm big into Godsmack. Godsmack is probably my favorite band. But could you do a teaser voice? But I've got to see Rob Zombie last year. I just got to see who was it? Avatar. In This Moment, another group. So, but I'd have to say probably the best concert I saw was Five Finger Death Punch because I was right at the corner of the stage.
You ready to do your DJ voice now?
Yeah, if I don't blow your speakers out.
Hopefully.
I spend all day on the phone, so my voice is kind of shot right now, but here we go. It's Rockin' Bobby D. You're listening to the home of classic rock and roll, 103.5, the home of hit classic music. Be caller number 10, and we're going to qualify you for a trip to Jamaica. Right now, coming up, I've got some Steve Tyler with Aerosmith on Q, 103.5.
All right. How about that, everybody? We need to give him some thumbs up for that. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. 103.5, is that the radio station you DJ'd for, or is that just one you made up?
No, that's my local station here that I listen to, but we actually went on a bus ride to Syracuse to see Ozzy Osbourne, so I got to hang out with the DJ of that station. But 101.5 was where I won that hour to be a DJ, and they actually said, would you come back and do this? You're great. And I moved out of the area like a month later, so I may have had a shot and just blew it from walking away. But, you know, I joke around like rock stations, but I can go like, you're listening to Rob D, the home of cool jazz, 107.5. Coming up this hour, we've got some Miles Davis. So we'll be right back.
Yeah, several folks here trying to hire you.
I used to MC at my fire department.
Yeah, and Liz wants you to do a water change video in DJ mode.
I'll bring my Python, and like Rick said, it's the best thing since sliced bread. I had a Python in 1989, and I still had it up until I moved 3 years ago.
Yeah, there was one that was a predecessor that I got the attachment, Bob, with Kaler's Aquatics. That's throwing me off still, Bob. I'm not used to Kaler's Aquatics yet. But he led me on to the little attachment that you put on the end, and it came from like a predecessor, I think, to the Python, but I can't think of what it was called.
Most people DIY it with a Home Depot or Lowe's control valve. The old ones were not Aqueon. Lee's used to make the gravel vac, but it was suction type. It didn't run off of a faucet.
That was it, Lee's.
Makers of that wonderful underground gravel filter.
Yeah, I remember way back when I had, you were talking about under gravel filters, way back when I had tanks in my previous fish life before I got back into it. I had those below gravel filters, and they, they did a pretty good job for what they, what they do. Do you still use them?
Oh yeah, I actually bought one, and I have a 50-foot extension, so I can hook it up to my bathroom sink, which has a lot more pressure, and do these tanks, and then go into the dining room. But that bucket brigade stuff, no thanks. That went out with the fire department.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine changing the water on like all these tanks. As a matter of fact, it would be impossible because some of the tanks I have now on this rack system, there's not, as you can see right here, there's not that much room in between. And without the Python, you wouldn't be able to get the water. You wouldn't be able to get the water back in. So anyway, that's pretty cool.
Bradley Walker, can you dab, please? Are you talking about this?
There you go. There you go. You'll be dancing for long. We keep this up.
Yo, Robbie D's in the house, but my man on the mic is Jadron from BamAquatics because he's a fish nerd.
I know that was something else. I tell you what, I love
I watching that.
That may be one of my favorite videos that I've seen. I'm surprised that I mean, it got a lot of views, but I'm surprised it didn't like go viral or something. But I love that. That was pretty cool.
I would never expected that from him.
Yeah, I know.
We're all fish nuts, nerd.
Yeah, I can get a net in there. It's pretty tight, but I can. So as long as I can get a net in there and get something to filter it out and all that stuff, I think it'll be all right. That's the one thing about this racking system is that the shelving you have to have the middle shelf at a certain level, and so it kind of limits exactly what you can do with the other shelves. So. Melvin's here. Something. Let's see. Back then in high school, I used to write poetry, stories, created video games. My plans were to become a rapper. Start his own record label. How about that? Melvin the rapper.
Phoenix Aquatics taking flight.
Plenty of space in those tanks. Yep. Somebody's posted up your link there. Be sure if you guys haven't. I haven't really mentioned this. I'm sort of slacking a little bit, I guess. But my moderators have done a great job of putting Rob's channel up there several times. So I appreciate that, guys. Be sure if you haven't subscribed and went over and checked out Rob's channel, be sure and do that. He does a lot of cool things too, Rob. I know you're doing the I've been meaning to send you a video. You do a spotlight every week. Tell us a little bit about what you sort of do on your channel. I know you do a lot of different things, but like I know there's a couple of things you do to help kind of spread the love in the fish family. So,
well, the channel spotlight, which was kind of an adaptation of Corey's home viewer show, which he used to do on Sundays. You know, and that was nice because I'd get up in the morning, I'd get a cup of coffee, and I'd sit on my phone and I'd watch everybody's tanks. And then as I got thinking about it, I used to watch a show called Talk Soup, and it was kind of a cable show, poking fun, showing clips of the different shows that were on over the course of a day. Of course, I procrastinated. JH Aquatic came up with the Fish Fam News. And I told him, I said, you know what, Joe? You stole my idea. That was a plan I had already set to roll. But I decided with the channel, and it was odd because Peter from Mob Guppies said, you know, meet a fish tuber, would you? I'm like, sure, because it gets me out to your viewers and I get you out to my viewers. So with my channel, it got away from its roots, like I said, motorcycle rallies, electronic stuff. I used to do phone reviews when I worked in the business. So now it's more of, which I've got to change. It's more of, you know, something that I've done to the tank, a filter that I put in, what I did to the filter. I started doing a lot of unboxings and reviews of products, but I have fun with the channel spotlight. The only problem is it seems to die off because either people are too shy, there's times involved, some people just don't want to do it. So, you know, I had to get creative by the sixth one, where I created Otter Creeks and I took clips from all of his videos and mashed them all together. But my channel, I like to use the same as I do with the TGA page, is I gain enjoyment from watching you and everybody that's here and the small channels, because I'm somebody who, as I said, I don't sugarcoat anything, but I like the rawness and the realness and the general enthusiasm that a lot of the small creators put out. You know, it's them having fun, and they're like, you know, very passionate, like, oh, did you see the fishes that I just got? I just put these in the tank. I get excited, and then it makes me go to my store and go, I wonder if they have that one here. But My channel now, I'm going to probably do the setup of the sorority tank, the shrimp tank, because thank God my girlfriend is just as big as a fish nerd as I am. You know, that's why there's a lot of different fish in this tank and that tank, and why the cichlid tanks have come about, which my last cichlid tank was, good Lord, it had to be 1995 was the last time I was in it. And it was 5 Oscars that I got that were 50-cent pieces. When I got rid of them, they were probably £1.50 pounds. And funny story, you know, people, you know, I've read some stuff about fish don't feel, fish don't know you, this type of stuff. My ex-wife, all 5 of my Oscars would line up in the front of the tank. And when she walked into the room, they would ram the lid and literally throw the lid open. If I walked over, they would line up and wait because they knew I was going to feed them chopped meat or something. But I'm going to try to do more. You know, I actually enjoy this, the interaction between all of us. And I think with the smaller channels, just what the hobby is about, having fun, enjoying the hobby with others that enjoy it as well, and not being an outcast. So, you know, my channel, I'm going to start doing, you know, some more reviews. I actually have some product given to me by Dr. Tim's that I'm going to be doing something on. And really just supporting others. I mean, my goal, like Rax, is to get to 1,000. So I've worked on changing thumbnails and things like that. But I really want to use the channel as a catalyst to showcase you guys.
Right. Well, that's great. I appreciate it because you've been a great encouragement to me, and I know to a lot of people. And so I know that channel spotlight has kind of helped some people out too, kind of exposing them to a little bit larger audience or to a different audience anyway, because each of us has our own little niche, maybe, and maybe has our own subscribers that others don't have. So you've got some great comments here on your girlfriend. She'll be happy to read those.
Yeah, I don't think she'll want to get in front of the camera because Lisa from KG Tropicals told her she needed to do them. But I think I am going to get her involved as she scapes her Aqua Top Clear shrimp tank. I actually just got her some Samurai Rock. It was supposed to be a Christmas present, but I have a pre-made bonsai tree coming hopefully here in the next 2 weeks. So I think I'm going to use that as a means to show her, because she's not really somebody who wants to be on camera. I mean, I see Liz saying that, you know, get her on, because she actually hung around with Liz and Susan from BamAquatics at AE. So, you know, that's kind of being at the aquatic experience with Elizabeth, or One Fish, Two Fish ROC, and Susan. And I met and Rack. I met so many, the betas are doing well. So many awesome people. I mean, I was sitting there just eating a pretzel and having a beer or something, and people walk over and sit down, and half hour later, we're still chatting. And I'd run into them later, and it was like we pick up the conversation. But I think she's still upstairs, so I don't think she'll come on camera.
Well, it's been almost an hour. You know, time flies by when we're having fun, and try to keep it to about an hour. So anyway, we'll kind of begin to wrap up. If you have any other questions or anything you want to ask, go ahead and throw it out there real quick. But just want to say that I've kind of haven't been on my regular schedule over the last weeks, but I'm going to start be regular schedule now again. I'm going to start putting out on my regular Mondays and Fridays, doing the stream on Thursdays. So Rob, do you have a specific schedule you follow, or do you just kind of do the wing it kind of deal?
Well, I think now that I'm back, as far as live streaming, I probably will reserve that towards like the weekend, because I'm so busy at work. By the time I get home and taking care of my dog and everything else, it's like, so probably the weekends. I'm not really sure yet. But coming on here with you, it reignited that passion, you know. And as I'm glancing over at the comments, and you know, it was a good time. And I think there was something somebody put that I wanted to make mention. Oh, Long Island Fish Guy, he was spotlight number 7. So You know, if you didn't see it in the comment, he's streaming after us, so you definitely go check him out. The guy is off the hook. How was that for a segue?
How about that? That's great. I don't even have to do it now. So you did a great job. So we're just going to leave that to you. But yeah, check him out. Long Island Fish Guy's got his own stream coming up next. He's actually going to be with me next week on Thursday at 7. So be back to check that out. But Rob, I sure appreciate hanging out with you tonight.
I appreciate you having me, Rick. This was a blast.
We appreciate everybody for coming on and joining us. So come back next time. Be sure and go check out Rob's channel. Go over and check out Long Island Fish Guy next. So thank you for joining us, guys. I guess we'll log off.
Good night, all. Of course, my